Chairman. Mr. Rodriguez, I want to direct my questions to you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. At the last meeting, as you know, Secretary Gwen Graham was here to discuss the document production issues, and she pledged to meet immediately with staff and those involved in production to discuss the production supplementation that was needed and also the redaction issues that came up at the last hearing. I want to ask you, were you part of that meeting, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, sir, I was not.
Have you met with Ms. Graham to discuss what she pledged to this committee last time she was here? And if so, what did you guys talk about?
I'm aware of her commitment, but we did not meet to discuss that further.
All right. What preparation did you have between last meeting and this meeting to prepare for providing additional supplementation to what she testified to?
Well, sir, I have spent hours preparing for this hearing and to be able to answer your questions. And I know our staff have met, I believe, on 3 occasions over the last few weeks to further discuss some of those redactions.
In your preparation, did you look through that 1,000+ pages that have been produced?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you look at them in unredacted form?
I also reviewed some of those, not every single line.
Okay. Let me show you what was just handed to you. I'm going to reference it. It's a list of 26 different documents by Bates number, starting with number 1, base number HJC 118, 16, all the way down to number 26, HJC-118, 850. It's a series of 26 sets of documents that this committee has prioritized and asked you to produce, at least in camera, without waiving the ability to see them in full and unredacted form for the committee itself. The committee staff is asked to look at these in unredacted form in camera. Only 2 of them have been offered to be put up to do so. Do you know why it's only 2 and not all 26?
Sir, I do know that we are continuing our work to provide additional documents for the committee's review. I believe there will be a 3rd package as well of documents.
Is that 3rd package going to be unredacted copies of any of these 26 that's referenced on this page?
I cannot speak to the particular planned redactions or lack thereof for this next package. I do know that there are the 2 first and second document that have been prioritized per discussions with this committee to be made available on camera.
Are you able to testify about why any of these documents on this list of 26 has been actually redacted?
Well, I can speak, sir, to the process of redaction, which is consistent with longstanding process at the U.S. Department of Education across the course of multiple administrations and with executive branch confidentiality interests. And so those redactions may be based on deliberative process, attorney-client privilege, personal information. I can say that many of those documents contained internal confidential communication, but the department remains ready to—
Let me stop you there. Can you be more specific when you say internal confidential information? What do you mean by that, other than personal information or attorney-client privilege or the deliberative process privilege?
Sir, I mean those 3 things.
Okay.
Sorry.
So is it your testimony that some of these documents on this 26 actually contain attorney-client privilege?
Again, I can't speak to this list of 26 documents, only to the first delivery of the package, and to say that we remain ready and will continue to meet with this committee to provide further information in response to specific interests.
So who can, I'd like to know who can actually tell me which privilege that you're asserting applies to which document.
That would be a process to continue in the conversations with this committee. Right, I know our staffs have
I get that, but you're not answering my question. Who is it that we can sit at this table to ask that question as to why these documents are being redacted and why this committee staff is not being able to see them in camera?
I'm happy to take that question back, sir.
When can you get me an answer about that?
I will take that back and commit to getting back to this committee after this hearing.
And you're going to be able to give me a specific name of a person that can tell me the specific reason why each of those documents is redacted. Is that what I hear you saying?
I'm happy to take your request back and to continue and to commit to our department continuing to work with this committee on a case-by-case basis relative to specific redactions that the committee is interested in seeing.
You've mentioned a lot about, or you mentioned some about the deliberative process privilege. Are you able to tell me what the common law elements are to assert that privilege?
No, I'm not able to speak to those technical questions today. I can take those questions back for further discussion.
Well, just for information, it's got to be pre-decisional and it's got to be deliberative. Those communications must meet those two substantive elements. If it doesn't meet those two elements, it doesn't qualify for that privilege. Now, there is some argument to say that privilege doesn't apply at all, but assuming it does, even at all, it's got to meet those two requirements. And I would urge you and your colleagues to go back and look at each of these documents to make sure that you can, in good faith, say it does in fact. Because we're going to get to the bottom of these at some point, and we're going to come back to the testimony you're giving in this hearing today, and we're going to understand whether or not that privilege is being asserted correctly or not. And in fact, it hasn't been officially asserted, I'll just tell you. It hasn't been asserted at all, except in the committee room, which is not the appropriate place. It must be in writing, and it must be done before the subpoena deadline was to be responded to. So I yield back.
Thank you.
Gentleman can respond if he wishes. Well, let me just put it this way. I think the long and short of what the gentleman said was the more we get, the less likely you're coming back. But the less we get, the more likely we're going to see you again. The gentlelady